Entering the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience. Waste management, Phoenix Open picks, research, course preview. No need to guess the odds because these odds have been lingering at DraftKings Sportsbook for 5 months now. Some people have some very good positions on some now very good players, although some people have bet other players who are not probably going to be playing in this field. So hopefully you'll get a refund on those bets, but always read your terms and conditions at all sportsbooks to make sure they're not going to take your money, all right? Let's jump into this. The big thing this week is smashing the like button to the episode, subbing to Mayo Media Network and the entire walkthrough today for the stats, for the generator, for the field listing, and a brand new tool, which I'll show you right now. This is the new one and done or season long planner at fantasynational.com. Not currently live on the site, will go live very, very soon. So if you're trying to plan out what you want to do for the one and done, for season-long fantasy, to make sure that you have guys for the proper tournaments, if you need to make moves or you need to draft as many people in best ball as possible to make sure that you're getting enough events covered, you'll see the key at the top, the defending champion, confirmed in the field, played last year, an alternate for the event, or just simply out of the event. Obviously, we have the WM Phoenix Open already in there, but you can search any player that you want up in the upper left-hand corners. If you want to see where Rory has committed to so far this year, you see not this field. He played in the Genesis Invitational. He will be playing in that, but he's not officially confirmed. He has confirmed himself for what was once the Honda Classic. You can see that he's also playing in Valero. And obviously he's going to be in the Masters. He just needs to accept his invitation once that field is actually released. But all the way down the line, anytime that announcements are made via social media, via the tournament themselves, from the player directly, that they will get updated into this site. So we thought this would be a brand new tool that would really help out people in trying to map out their fantasy golf seasons moving forward. Once again, fantasynational.com/Mayo. And it's just another new tool amongst many new tools, which have still yet to all launch, coming at you at the revamped fantasynational.com. For what you need to know, very quickly, it's a 144-man field, not a signature event this season, so all of the world's best players are not playing in Phoenix, but it never needed the designated or signature status to begin with because Phoenix is one of the very few tournaments, despite being like the best Super Bowl lead-in possible, that actually held its own on its own merits. It didn't need to be a major. It didn't need to be a WGC. It didn't need extra money. Players liked going, and it obviously has the most attendance of any golf event, or potentially even, especially over 4 days for a sporting event in North America every single season. It's a whole thing unto itself, so it made a whole lot more sense now to make that signature event either Torrey Pines or Pebble Beach to make sure that people flood to those fields. We've even seen it with Torrey that it still draws pretty good fields. Phoenix drawing even better fields. Make the designated event Pebble Beach, then all of a sudden you get a very scenic Pebble Beach. I'm filming this before I know what the hell is going on with the weather. Sunday in Pebble Beach or Monday in Pebble Beach or what's going on with that tournament. It could be 54 holes. It could be concluded by the time that you are watching this. Either way, getting the biggest names back to Pebble Beach was so big. They didn't need that in Phoenix. The big names are going to show up. The fans are going to enjoy it nonetheless. And then we get everyone back together next week at Riviera before we get, basically what is a bye week in Mexico, then to PGA National, and the Florida swing kicks itself off at the road to the Masters. So I had said it a few weeks back that this 4-week stretch is especially good for what you want to do. Try out runthesims.com, by the way, if you want some Super Bowl stuff. I believe we're making the site free this week. You just need to put an email to get in there. And if you're looking for the full preview for the Waste Management Phoenix Open, the complete breakdown with all of the visuals and the write-up, the newsletter, the Mayo Media newsletter is where that is going to be located. You can sub for free on Substack, Mayo Media Newsletter, or just hit the description. You can find it all down there right now. All right, and if you missed my interview with Michael Kim, that is out both on the pod feed right now on the Pat Mayo Experience and on Mayo Media Network. I was fascinated talking to Michael for the 45 minutes that I got him, so I hope you guys really enjoyed it as well. Share it around. So, sometimes if they see one player has a really good time on a show, maybe another player will come on the show, and all of a sudden, I can be like low-rent Pat McAfee talking to like low-rent Aaron Rodgers on my show, but about golf. It'll be perfect, right? Yeah, I'd like to be getting those $30 million paychecks. Probably not going to happen for me, but $30,000 paychecks? There we go. Now we're talking something is reasonable for the Pat Mayo experience. All right, let's take a look at the course. TPC Scottsdale in Phoenix. The par threes have an average distance of 188 yards, but there are two that are over that at 192, not 292, 192 and 215. Those are two of the four most difficult holes on the course. Number 7, between the green at number 6 and the tee box at number 7, if you are a first-time spectator and you're looking for a good spot to just absolutely chill, pound some beers, and see a ton of action coming in, you get to see that approach shot on number 6, and then the tee-offs on number 7, where Ricky Fowler made a hole-in-one a year ago. The 6-iron is a great spot to hold up. Overall, it's 7,261 yards as a par 71. They used to designate this as Bermuda grass, but with POA trivials because of the time of year that's coming up. They've just gotten rid of the Bermuda grass designation. Thank God, because when you try to pull an API feed and try to get updated things and everything to automate itself on a website, then it would say Bermuda. Then it'd be lumping in with all the Florida courses, which has absolutely nothing to do with. So it's POA trivial. So POA putting, but faster POA than something like the American Express. 5 of the holes on this course have a par rate of at least 69%, and all of the par 3, all 4 of them, are included in that. 11 of the top 13 finishers in this event last season gain strokes on the par 3s. Now, that was an elevated event. This field is not quite as strong. Again, still very strong, just not quite as strong as a year ago. The par 4s, there are 11 of them on this course with an average distance of 440 yards, but they're segmented pretty well. There are 5 of them between 400 and 450. There are 5 of them 450 to 500, 5 of the most difficult holes on the course. And then you have the shorty, number 17, which has the water on the left, where you need to go attack that hole. More on that in a little bit. 2 of the 3 hardest holes on the course are par 4s, and they come early on the back 9. That's holes 11 and 14. And then the closing holes, 15, 16, 17, and 18. You can see wild swings on those holes. Number 15 is a par 5 that it's going to have over 70 water balls on it over the course of the year. It's a lot like number 18 at the TPC Twin Cities for the 3M Open, where the risk reward, the risk is worth going for because most people do get there and have those eagle opportunities. But you could technically go eagle. Then you have obviously the very famous number 16. It's not a hard hole if you don't get rattled. And then you can make birdie there. You can make eagle on 17, and you could make bogey as well, I suppose, if you go into the water. But that can be a birdie hole. It has a 39% birdie rate. And then even number 18 on the closing hole, you'd think it would be a bit more difficult, but no, you can make birdie. It's below. And we've seen we've had that playoff with Cantlay and Scheffler, where they just kept missing putts over and over on the 18th hole. That's the one crappy part about the playoff in Phoenix. And I know it's to make sure that the tournament gets concluded earlier because of the Super Bowl, because you do not want to bleed into the Super Bowl, because then literally no one will be watching your event whatsoever. You want that conclusion to finish as soon as possible. Well, as close to as possible as the kickoff of the Super Bowl. But if you can finish yourself 45 to 30 minutes early, I feel like that is the perfect window. But it does have a 16% birdie rate. So you're looking at the final 4 holes. 38% birdie rate, 17%, 38, 17%, a 3% eagle rate. A 2.3% eagle rate on 15, 1.2% on number 17, and not a ton of bogeys to be had, to be perfectly honest with you. When you take a look at number 17, I always thought in my mind, right, that you would say, hey, it's a drivable par 4. This is a spot to gain back significant strokes on the field because it's so risk-reward at only 332 yards. Every player in this field can take a crack at that tee box because, with the water looming on the left, both eagle and double bogey are in play, but that's not really the case. Originally, I really assumed it was the ultimate risk-reward because that's what you want from a short par 4, but players have made par 40% of the time when they go into the water on 17. And considering the field makes birdie over 38% of the time, and eagle more than 1% of the time, there is literally zero incentive to lay up. In 2020, 51 balls found the water, 63 landed on the green, and if you have a 2 in 5 chance of making par anyway, if you go into the water, there's legitimately no reason not to take aim at this one. Unless you're Ollie Schneider-Jans, I suppose, and then you put it into the water. One of the best clips of all time on this course, but you just have to go for it. You have to be as aggressive as possible. So some of the key things that I wanted to look at for this course when we're really taking, and just to briefly talk about the par fives, 3 of the 4 easiest holes on the course, obviously, all of them held a 2.3% eagle rate or higher, 15 being that hinge hole that I just talked about, and they're always meaningful, but somehow Scheffler lost 2.1 strokes to the field on par fives last year in his repeat win at 19 under. For DraftKings Showdown, if we jump over to fantasynational.com, and we can kind of take a look at the layout of everything, going back to front, it's just a minor edge this week. I wouldn't go out of my way to target it if it didn't feature players that you wanted to play anyway. But as you can see, holes 17, 18, and 1 all have birdie percentages of basically 16% or more, where when you get to 8, 9, 10, you have birdie percentages of 12, 15, 17 for number 10, which is really nice, but then you have the hardest hole on the course at number 11. So you'd probably have to figure it out at 8, 9, 10, 9, 10, 11. Those percentages just are not going to work into your favor. So if you can find the wraparound 17, 18, 1, because then number 2 is a bit more of a tricky hole. Although the birdie percentage isn't all that bad for it, the bogey rate and double or worse rate is a little bit higher for number 2. So maybe you can squeeze it that way too. If birdie 17, birdie 18, 1, or even 18, 1, and 2 seems more plausible, at least in my mind, than some of the other ones. Let's take a look at how the top 10 finishers even out. Unlike a lot of courses, when we kind of dig into the course stats themselves, you really notice that approach and putting are generally 3 to 4x what driving and around the green is. There is a legitimate full emphasis on tee to green play. And I was trying to think, like when you take a look at the past winners. So the past winners of this event, Scheffler has won back-to-back years. Brooks, Webb, Fowler, Woodland, Hideki back-to-back years. Brooks. What are the commonalities between some of those players? Well, 11 players who have won in Phoenix have also won the Players' Championship, which is really strange because you'd think besides being TPC courses and having a ton of water on them, I suppose, that there's not really a ton going on there. You can lay up off the tee at TPC Scottsdale. You can, I don't know, you can go less than driver. You can, it's bizarre why that's so much the case. Scottie Scheffler joined that list a year ago because he won the Players' Championship. He won both in the same year. And it's actually 12 because if you're like Cuss, you count Hideki as having had a win at the Players' Championship in 2020. And obviously he has the 2 wins in Phoenix as well. But I was trying to figure out, is it like there are like the hardest holes on the course are the long par 4s. You can beat up on the par 5s. You need to make eagle on some of them. Okay. But some of the correlations that you would have between like the TPC, the Players' Championship, like the Wyndham Championship is the first thing that comes to mind because there's a lot of crossover winners there. But despite having a few crossover winners between Wyndham and Phoenix, that's kind of really it. Like that's all there is. Because when you think of Sawgrass, you think Wyndham. When you think of Wyndham, you think of Sony and Heritage and Colonial. And that's not really jibing at all. But again, listen to these names that pop up. Woodland, Webb, Brooks. Okay, what do those guys have in common? Well, they all won the U.S. Open. That seems strange, but you also have Scheffler, who has a top 7 finish each of the past 3 years at the U.S. Open. Hideki Matsuyama, who has 2 top 5 finishes in the past 5 years, I believe it is. Ricky Fowler has 3 top 5 finishes at the U.S. Open. Brooks, obviously, he has won multiple U.S. Opens. He's won here twice. So there is some sort of emphasis on being long off the tee, being a very good driver of the ball. Like Webb is kind of weird and a weird outlier in that sense. And the year that Fowler won, he made a ton of putts. But they also have the rest of the game to go along with it, right? They have a great approach game. They have a great around the green game. And I think that's really the critical factor here because this course features a ton of chip-ins. If you are bad around the greens, although these are big greens, you want to hit as many greens in regulation as possible, as you would want to do at every course. But you can really do it this year. But a big driver and a great around the green game can make up for a lack of an approach game in Phoenix. At least that's what we've seen bear itself out at the very top of the leaderboard over the years. And I was just trying to figure, I don't know why it never jumped out to me that guys play well at the U.S. Open actually play pretty well here. You can see the historic cut line last year with all the best players. It was +1, so it did play a little bit tougher. The 2 years previous to that, it was under par for the first time since 2013. So expect it to be +1, even -1, maybe -2 with this many players in the field, but nothing crazy. This week, driving accuracy a little bit lower here. Obviously, gigantic waste areas off to the right and left. Green and regulation percentage this week, 67% higher than tour average. Scrambling percentage a little bit higher. You can have some really low scores here. But again, there's a ton of water. There's cacti all around. I'll let Michael Kim talk a little bit about what he had said in his experience of Phoenix and how he's planning on attacking the course.
For me, the driver is the most key thing. If I'm driving it well, I know I'm good. So in my mind, I'm always kind of looking for the certain more difficult tee shots, like 11, water up the left and cactus on the right. 13 is the water on the right, par 5, and cactus on the left. I think Scottsdale, there's a lot of trouble on the left side, I would say, at least on the back nine, like 11, 17, and 18 even.
That kind of tracks. Like, you have to figure out, hit a driver a ton, and you can see it has the highest average driving distance for any course on the PGA Tour. It's 295 on average over the past 5 years, but the past 3 years, it's up around 305, which that makes it the longest. Then it's TPC Summerlin. So there is some sort of TPC connection. Because I was trying to run through all the connections. So good U.S. Open players, good short game, winners of the Players' Championship, and the other time Tom Weisakoff designed that they play regularly on the PGA Tour is TPC Craig Ranch. So that's another one that we can look to, the Bunny Farm, for the Byron Nelson down towards the end, because we've seen a little bit of crossover there. It's a place where Scheffler's played well, Hideki has played well. We'll see how Jason Day does in a little bit, but those were the few things that I wanted to talk through as we kind of got through everything. Very easy putting course as well. That's not something that you would normally think about here, but there was a year where, what was it? It was Fowler posted the best putting performance of his career the year that he won. But beyond that, when we try to think about like feet and putts made and things like that, 15 to 25 feet, the fourth easiest on the PGA Tour, make rate of around like 18%, I believe. Yeah, it's 18%. And then there was 1 year at this course where players made 81% of their putts from inside 10 feet, which is just crazy, and diametrically opposed to Pebble, Torrey, and Riv, all of the events around it, which I just thought was very funny. And maybe that's why someone like Scheffler can win at this event. Like, you have a really good tee to green game that's going to save you a ton of strokes. And then you start thinking in the back of your mind what it is that is a bit of the differentiators, that, yeah, tee to green will make up more than putting overall. And if you can make it a little bit easier on the greens for some of these guys, then it does even itself out a little bit. And Scheffler can compete. And he makes a ton of mid-range putts anyway. Like Spieth, it's really the short ones that give him the most problems. Before I ramble on too long, let's jump over to the tournament history so we can get a better sense of what has happened over the past few years. Look at that. Ben An already leaping out at the top. I know it's because it's in alphabetical order, but either way, I love to see Ben An up there. I bet him the year that I went. That was in 2016. I believe he came fourth that year. So that was fun. Him and Louis. Again, two players with really good T2 green games. Overall, just another thing to kind of look at. So I'm really going to be weighting that heavily when we take a look. So last year, Scotty Scheffler is the champion. He beat Nick Taylor by 2 strokes. He matched Nick Taylor the 65 on Sunday, the second best round of the day. He was better than Taylor just once in the 4 rounds, and that was on Friday, where he fired a 64. Scheffler led the field in proximity from 150 to 175, a distance range that all top 9 finishers gained in on the leaderboard when we take a look at the strokes gained. So we can take a look at a little bit more of a deep dive. Man, if Scotty Scheffler's going to gain 4.2 strokes putting in an event, he going to win. That's just write that one in. Nick Taylor had a fantastic putting week, but tee to green, you can see like that just Scheffler, Thomas, Spieth, Hatton, oh, he's on live now, and then Xander. Again, guy's a U.S. Open champion, guy who crushes the U.S. Open every single year. He doesn't have the win, but he's up there. Jordan Spieth, obviously, again, another one. Justin Thomas, good U.S. Open track record, all up there. Wyndham Clark, there he is, came 10th last year, guy who just won the U.S. Open. So very interesting to see it up there. Duffner in Vegas had played really well, tee to green, but they could not putt to save their lives. Spieth is actually off to a pretty strong start. I don't have all the Pebble numbers in yet because obviously they have not finished or started the final round as of yet. However, if he could putt here, he's been close a few times. This would be a nice spot for him to get it on the go. We're not going to hear from Hatton again. Xander's putting has just really let him down. That and going double water to lose us our 3-banger on Prize Picks on Thursday at Pebble Beach. He just needed to step onto 18, a par 5, and not put it in the ocean. And not only did he put it in the ocean, he put it in the ocean twice. Just needed a birdie to win us our ticket, pal. Figure it out. Hopefully it kills his odds a little bit. I doubt that will end up being the case. So that's what happened a year ago. Oh, hot fire Dylan Fratelli ended up coming, 14th here last year? Good for him. He just won overseas at triple digits. So hopefully a few people out there had Dylan Fratelli tickets at the Bahrain Open, whatever it is. Give you the brain. So that was against an elevated event field. So 2022 is more reminiscent of what we should see this time around. Theegala had this in the bag, and then he put it into the water on number 17. When we were watching this in real time before the Super Bowl, Cuss threw all of his support behind Theegala. The first time he had ever seen him, he's like, oh, I want this guy to win. Instantly went in the water. Could not script it any better. Cantlay lost in a playoff that year to Scotty Scheffler. Scotty shot 62 on Saturday. That was 2 strokes better than any other round by any other golfer during the tournament. That was the only round where he beat Cantlay. So what you're seeing from Scotty is like 3 pretty good rounds and then the one outlier round to bury everyone. Of the 9 that gained 5 strokes with the putter in 2022, 5 or 6 of them cash top 10 paychecks. So that's always interesting to know. You can see Justin Thomas up there again, Noren, Hideki, there's Fitzpatrick, Keith Mitchell is another one, Max Homa. Keith Mitchell with decent results of this. He has the top 10. That's his best result. He does have a T16 in 2020 as well. Brooks had the infamous chip in on number 17. Just stormed back and beat everyone. This was sort of like the return of Jordan Spieth in 2021. He was crap for like 18 months. And then he shot, I think it was a 61 in this tournament. Brooks was 5 back of Jordan and Xander going into Sunday and shot his best round of the week, a 65, a 6 under, and the other ones had their worst. Spieth was 11 shots worse on Sunday than he was on Saturday, but it did set him up to be a lot better throughout the course. You can see Justin Thomas third, T13, 8, and 4th. I mean, I'm probably going to bet Justin Thomas this week. I really hope his odds just aren't dreadful. I have Justin Thomas at Pebble as well, although I'm currently winning the small $200 GPP on DraftKings. Shout out Fantasy National, again, just helping me out. I kind of want the tournament to be over, but I also have Justin Thomas on that team. So I would like to have Thomas to have a chance to win the tournament so I could win both that and my outright ticket of Justin Thomas, but that might be getting a little bit too greedy. But I might have to sacrifice every single outright bet that I have this year if I'm just going to continue to clean up on DraftKings and Prize Picks. If you want to get in on the Prize Picks street, by the way, you can hit the description. That brings us to the match link. But code DOP at prizepicks.com gets you a deposit match of $100. So you deposit $100, you get $100. I mean, if you want to do it with $20, you can do it that way too. Deposit $20, get an extra $20, then you got $40. So that's what happened in 2021. In 2020, Webb Simpson chased down Tony Finau and beat him in a playoff. He was 15 under par Friday through Saturday and only 2 under par on Thursday and Sunday. 22 of the top 25 finishers gained strokes on the par 3s. That's what kept Finau in it. He gained 4 more strokes on the par 3s than Webb Simpson. We had the waterlogged 2019 edition when Ricky Fowler finally came through. He was the round 1 leader with a bogey 364, and then he fired his 3rd best round 2 at 65. He shot 74 on Sunday, double bogey on 5, triple bogey on 11, but did rally back to catch Brennan Grace, who had taken the lead, which was amazing because I had live bet him that morning at 200 to 1, and all of a sudden he was in it. And then all of a sudden, he was out of it because Ricky Fowler stormed it. Fortunately, the each-way played pretty well on that one. He posted his best performance of his career on the greens, 9.5 strokes gained putting. And you can see some of the other players that were up there that year. Thomas, Kuchar, Sungjae, Woodland was 7th. That was the year after his victory in 2018. Ditto for Shez. Shez lost to Gary Woodland in the playoff, and he has not made a cut since. Oh, Ben-Am was top 20 that year. Hideki with a very good one. So overall, the best players at this tournament over the years, past 5 years at least in terms of strokes gained total, JT, Schauffele, Scheffler, Hideki, Sungjae, Homa, Fowler, Horschel, Cooch, who got a ton of TV time Saturday at Pebble Beach for, I guess he was playing with Wyndham Clark, so you had to keep him on the screen. It was just weird. Hadwin, JT Poston, Jordan Spieth, Wyndham Clark, Sahith Theegala in only 2 starts, Fitzpatrick in only 2 starts, and in only 3. And then you have someone like Noren within top 10 as a part of that mix, Nick Taylor and Sam Burns, each with top 10s a year ago. Patrick Rogers, it was that Taylor Moore with a T14 in his debut as well. Nick Taylor had the second, but he had nothing coming into that before. Same as Sam Burns, where he really had never performed all that well in Phoenix, but managed the top 10 from last year. Let's take a look at this field. Let's dig in a little bit to the field. So like I said, it's a very good field. And even to kind of go through everything that we've talked about so far, you can see that I have my model loaded in right now. But just to talk about the field very briefly, we have a lot of big names at the tournament this year. I really like it. Scheffler, Victor, Xander, no Cantlay this time around, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Brian Harman, Max Homa, Wyndham Clark, Tom Kim, Spieth, Theegala, Cameron Young, Sam Burns, Sungjae, Glover, Fowler, JT Poston, Eric Cole, Min Woo Lee, Byung-Hun An, Kurt Kitayama, Daniel Hausberger, Eric Cole, Griot. So, like I said, fantastic field. Adam Scott is playing in the field. Adam Shank, Akshay Bhatia, my guy who plays every single week, except for Pebble Beach, because he was not allowed in that field. Either way, he's trying to play as many events as possible. So expect to continue to see him at every tournament until he starts qualifying for every signature event. Maybe he was in the field this week. Never really popped in my mind as someone that you wanted to take. Maybe I should kind of go back and revisit that. There is I mentioned Daniel Berger. There is a surprise player in the field. Now, check this out. There's a blast from the past. Bud Cauley is playing in this field. Bud Cauley has not played a PGA event since, the Fortinet in 2020. I believe it was still called the Safeway Open at the time of him actually playing in that, which is just insane to think about. He has played 2 times on the Korn Ferry Tour so far this season, and he has 2 top 35 finishes, which is nice. He did not play in Panama this time around. I'm just happy to see the guy back. I believe he was in a car accident or he had wrist surgery or something happened with Bud Cauley, but he is back in this tournament. First PGA event for the first time since September 13th of 2020. It's been a while. Very good player overall. I mean, we all used to love playing Bud Cauley on DraftKings, so maybe he can regain what he used to do well, and you can see what he used to do well. Not always the greatest putter, not always the greatest driver, generally very good irons, but immaculate touch around the green. Like, the guy might as well be in Genesis. He has the invisible touch here. So, Bud Cauley, just curious. I'm not betting him or anything like that. I'm just want to see where he's going. So, a very stacked field of 144, top 65 in ties make the cut. I've set this now as my default model, which you can do right here on Fantasy National. You can pin your model. So we'll go into manage the models. You can see the ones that I have active right now. Waste management, good at top. Well, that's always fantastic to know when we're thinking about how we want to make picks this week. So here's what I got cooking for the picks. We mentioned the 175 to 200. I'm going to change that to the 150 to 175, mainly because I feel like that's where the longer hitters end up going, and I do kind of want the longer hitters to be in that bucket. And as I mentioned, the top 9 on the leaderboard all finished inside the good in that bucket last week. You can actually go amend all these now too. I actually do prefer the sliders, to tell you the truth, where I can just kind of slide and make things like visually look appealing to me of the way I want it. But if you do want to go in and just mess around with everything and put the actual number on, that has to be 7%. You can do that now. That's all fixed on Fantasy National. So we're cleaning it up. We've showed you some of the new tools. Then we have even more tools, maybe an app coming very, very soon. So strokes gained off the tee. I got 19% strokes gained approach, 24% strokes gained around the green, 15%. I didn't want to use all of just tee to green because I did want to see reflective of how they do in each one of those. And this is the weight that you kind of saw when I went through it on the course breakdown of how the stats actually translate out a little bit. Opportunities gained is an approach stat. That's around 7%. Par 5s, I'm going to decrease those a little bit. One thing that I did want to add, because it kept popping up, is par 3s gained. Just par 3s gained overall. We did notice that the vast majority of them are 175 to 200 at this course. So we can kind of bump that up to 7%. We'll decrease down par 5s a little bit. So we got 18, 23, 14. You can see this up on the screen right now if you're watching the video version of this. And you can go make your own, fantasynational.com/Mayo. Once again, it's so fast now. You're really going to want to use it. You probably don't need eagle. I guess, yeah, with an eagle percentage 2.3 or more, and a drivable par 4, we'll keep that in there. And we probably don't need to lock these in. So yeah, instead of the proximity range, I put in the key par 3 range of 175 to 200. Proximity range 150 to 175 is where I'm at right now. So let's, I clicked out of it by accident. So what I want to do is, let's see, opportunities gained 7%, par 5s gained 10%, par 4s. Yeah, so I didn't hit save on that because I'm an absolute goober. So I changed the proximity and I want to add in that par 3 stat. So par 3s gained 175 to 200. Where are we at? Right there. And like I said, we'll make the proximity range around 8%, and then that around 8%, and drop down par 5s a little bit because we have eagles up there as well, which should double a little bit. Putting, I do have at 5% as well. So now we can update the model itself, load it in, and see what we got cooking. I don't have a mixed condition model ranked yet. I probably just have one stat in there, everything from last week. But as you can see down the left-hand side of Fantasy National, you will get the course conditions of how this course is played over the past 10 years as a percentage of what we're looking at in terms of firmness, hitting fairways. You can see hitting fairways has been easy, difficult, and average, depending on the day. The rough length is generally average. 88% of the time that they play around, it is average. 81% of the time they putt on these greens, it is fast. 19% is average, and 100% of the time it's been a par 71. So all the way down, you can take a look at that. 81% of the time of rounds at this course are played in calm conditions. Moderate wind 17% of the time. 2% does it get above 17 miles per hour. So very infrequently do you get that much wind in the desert. Another new feature, which is just super easy to use. So the model rank over the past 24 rounds in Phoenix, well, if it wasn't looking good for Scotty anyway, it's looking even better for Scotty now. He's number 1 in the model rank. First off the tee, first in approach. That's pretty good. 27th around the green. First in opportunities gained. Sucks at putting, but putts pretty well here. I think this is probably, maybe Bay Hill ends up becoming his best course. But let's see. And WM Phoenix Open, 3 starts. Yeah, the past 2 years when he's won, 5.1 strokes gained putting, 4.2 strokes gained putting. He gained 9 strokes on approach last year, too. He didn't even really play all that well. Yeah, so we have the waste management. So we can see his wins. Sorry, that was WM. And then 2022. Yeah, so that's what we're looking at for him on that front. So 23, 2022. Let's see, just to go take a look at his breakdown in 2022, just to make sure it all lines up perfectly. Yeah, there we go. He lost strokes on approach in 2022. That was what it is. And he gained 6.5 on the greens. He's just been annihilating the greens. It's so weird that he putts so well here. So it is the best putting course in his career. That's dangerous. But and we've seen it go through his first start here. It went the other way, and that didn't turn out to be all that good. So maybe if it just reverts back to like 2 strokes game putting, he's not going to win this tournament. Victor is number 2. Xander, Homa, Cole, List, Doug Gim, Glover, Ben Ann, Daniel Hauscherberger, JT Poston, Van Rooyen, Bhatia, Michael Kim, Ryder, Lowry, Hideki, Hostler, Colley, although those stats are from 2020. Ryan Moore, Thigala is up there as well. You can see like around the green, very good. You would hope that his approach play could be a little bit better, but he's a good driver. He is fantastic around the greens. Can he get his putter hot enough? A lot of the time he can. He has been struggling a little bit on the POA, but again, it's been mainly on the shorter putt. So hopefully the mid-range and the easier putting inside 10 feet at this course can help him out a lot. when we try to kind of scroll down a little bit, like Xander's around the green hasn't been great lately, but everything else just checks every single box that you would want to be looking at. The par 3 range over that time, Homa, Liss, Spieth, Eckroat, and Xander Schauffele. Berger is up there as well. Another player who has been very good at U.S. Opens over the course of his career. Kitayama is there, but does not rank out very well this week for this tournament. Middle of the desert, not super coastal. That's probably where you don't want Kurt Kitayama. What else did we want to look at here? Proximity 150 to 175 coming in. Glover, Xander, Bhatia. Bhatia's approach has been bad, but his around the green and driving have been great. Generally speaking, you think of Bhatia as a really good irons player, and he has been good at the Farmers and the Sony. Just the shot length stats are all so messed up and wrong from the data source at the American Express, just kind of alleviating those. So he's bad to end the year with his approach play, but generally, that's the strength of his game is his ball striking. Now that he has this long putter, he's not an abject travesty on the greens anymore. So maybe Bhatia time. There we go. I mean, anything I need to talk myself into betting Bhatia, I'm going to do. What are his odds? I suppose we can take a look at that. Take a look at what his odds are. How was Berger the last time around? Terrible at the Farmers, better at the American Express. Not sure where I'm at with Berger right now. Usually a good POA putter, though. So he should be good at this tournament. We can kind of take a look back at Berger in a second. How has he done at this tournament over the years? I have a recollection of him being okay at this tournament. WM, a 9th, a 7th, an 11th, a 10th. Okay, so he has been very good at this tournament over the years. Very good on these greens. So if he can get the ball striking back up a little bit, that would be very, very nice. WM Phoenix Open. So here are the odds. Let's see. Coming in. Where is Bhatia? We'll take a deeper look at this towards the end. Bhatia, 100 to 1. All right, good. I will most definitely bet that. So easy game. Bet Bhatia. Win money. Hopefully that will end up being the case again this week. So the best players off the tee, Scheffler, Vegas, Benan, Victor Hovland, Max Homa. We can kind of take a look to see how this did as well when we're taking a look at the time machine. So let's take a look at the 2022 time machine and try to rank our model versus how the actual finish came in. Let's see here. We had Rahm as the best player that year, would have rated 1 in the model that I just built. You can always go back and look at the time machine for all of this stuff. It just gives you, I have it set to 24 rounds. It gives you the 24 rounds before the 2022 tournament. And it's still early in the year, so we can take a look at that. So he was number 1 in the model. He came 10th. List was number 2. He came 53rd. So he made the cut. That's nice. Cantlay 3rd, lost in a playoff. Thomas 4th, came 8th. Berger was bad. Henley was 33rd. Hideki was 8th. Hoagie came 14th. Gooch came 26th. All right, this wasn't bad at all. Duffner, Victor, and Wise would have ranked out pretty well, but they did all miss the cut. So that's where kind of the breaking point was. Louis did well. Mito was Merritt was pretty good. So was Rogers. The winner was at number 19. So Scheffler was number 19 coming into it that year. But overall, not bad. Because you're going to have a fair amount of misses on a lot of these, especially when you're just looking at stat rankings that aren't always drawing from the same context earlier in this year, because some of these stats go back to the end of last season, like August and July. Obviously, not so much the same as we're seeing now. So last year, Rory was number 1, Homa was number 2, Tom Kim was number 3. So it was very bad at the very, very top end. But then you had Rahm did great, Sungjae did great, Xander did great, and then Scheffler did great. Siwoo did pretty well as too for a guy who was probably way back in the odds. 8th, came in 23rd. JT, Jason Day. It started 11. The model loved Jason Day. Then he ended up coming in 5th. Wyndham Clark was inside the top 20. Came 10th. Finau 14th. So not bad, not great because it really missed the very top 3 players, but everyone else was actually quite good. So that's intriguing to see. We'll take one more time warp back. Time warp number 2021. Back in the year 2021. How did we do? Brooks was 7th in the model. He came 1st. Xander was 3rd. He came 2nd. So that's always good to know. Thomas was 1st, came 13th. Rahm was 2nd, came 13th. So everyone until you got to number 17, Chris Kirk in the modeling made the cut. That's always good. And that included names like Werner, Matthew Wolff, Webb Simpson, Zalatoris back then. Ryan Palmer, 16th, came 42nd. Sam Burns, Siwoo, again, was still rated very highly that year. Henley was way up there. Keegan was way up there. And then even after Chris Kirk, we didn't have another miscut until number 31 in the power rankings, which was Ryan Moore that year. Finished 121st. So good to know. That includes names like Norlander. And I mean, Stanley had won this tournament before, but that was more of a ball striking exercise at that time when he couldn't make a putt to save his life. Like Ortiz, 20th in the model, 4th overall. Griot, 18th, 22nd. So just that was the year. It's probably the year that I put in the note, good at the top. So again, trying to figure that out. That's a way that we can do it. And if you are looking to draft some season-long teams to go along with that planner that I talked about, we do have the Underdog ADP underneath the section of the tournament selection right now, if that's what you're looking for. So again, hopefully it can work out really well. The deeper names that come in here, Doug Gim, Ben Ann, Lucas Glover, and that's over the past 24 rounds. We can always do different sample sizes. We saw that 150 to 175 did pretty well. So I'm going to let's go past 12 rounds, and we'll just add some things to a mixed condition model right now and just try to figure out if there are certain things that do well. We said approach around the green, does really well. If we do past 12 rounds and try to just look at the overall rankings, Brandon Wu is a new name on that list. Poston pops up again. And then there's Bhatia all of a sudden. Theegala gets a big rise, as does Patrick Rogers. Michael Kim, our guy, 18th in the model rank when we take a look at it, because he's 6th in opportunities gained. The driving is the thing that could hold him back, but the approach has been top 10 in the field. He's better than most of the field around the green. So that's always important to know. I don't know if he's going to win. We might have to auto bet him going forward. If Min Woo Lee could hit an approach, he would be so good here. But it's devastating how bad he is on those things. So one of the things that we saw pop out, the proximity, 150 to 175. So let's try to find hot players in those. So we'll add that to the mixed condition model. We'll say proximity, 150 to 175 over the past 12 rounds, and we'll add that in. And we'll get rid of this one that we had in there before, because that was from Pebble Beach. So you can see, we just update the mixed condition model, and we'll be on our way. We'll just show you what comes from 150 to 175 in proximity from the past 12 rounds. I do want to take a bit of a longer view on some of these stats, so we'll do past 75 rounds for some of these other ones to get a better sense of, let's say, 175 to 200 par threes. I do want to add that one in, so we'll add that in to the mixed condition model. Par threes, 175 to 200, past 75 rounds. Boom. Put that one in. We're also going to put in strokes gained around the green from the past 75 rounds as well. So players that have been historically very good with strokes gained around the green. So we'll make those 275, and then we'll put in proximity, 150 to 175, hot. Who is hot in those ranges? We were looking for the hot. We want some hot deals. We want to find some hot guys. Hot guys on the course, that is, statistically, from 150 to 175. So we have the short term there and the long term for those other two. I also want to find players that play the par, and we'll make that past 50 rounds. Let's say par fours, 450 to 500. This is just a different way, because we're going to bring back the rolling report really soon. It was really hard to parse over when we translated it over the site. But this is actually kind of my new favorite way to do the rolling report of my main model, because now I can look at it from different time periods in some of the places that I need to find. So that's great news. We'll do strokes gained off the tee, the same in that range. We'll go, or strokes gained off the tee right there, past 50 rounds for that. And we'll throw in strokes gained approach from that same range as well, past 50 rounds. Okay, so that's what we've looked at from just the mixed condition, for just the model for the mixed condition model. Now let's go to the strokes gained model that I have, where it just shows you just very rudimentary things. And you can just kind of see, let's go to TPC Scottsdale, and we'll click on the filter, and we'll apply the course filter for that. And we'll get strokes gained total, and we'll call this the course history one. Over the past 50 rounds, let's take past 12 rounds. The past 3 years. Maybe that's not enough. Let's go past 24 rounds, because we're going to take strokes gained total past 24 rounds at this course, so we can throw that one in. We're going to take strokes gained total at this course only, TPC Scottsdale, throw that into the mix. Then we'll weight it all afterwards. And we can see on average, if we just take a look at average strokes gained, total, Scheffler, Thomas, Taylor Moore is up there. That's only 1 round or 4 rounds from him. Ben An is up there as well. What were Ben An's odds? Good God, I'm going to get sucked into this guy again. Oh, 50-1, that's fine. That's basically what he was this week in an elevated event. Give me even deeper odds. So Thigala, bet him. I should probably bet the guys that I've been betting. Thomas, Thigala, Ben An, and Bhatia. Be on my way. That's the lean that I have right now. And probably have to do an auto on Michael Kim, our guy, coming through it all now. So strokes gained putting at this course alone. I am going to throw that in. I won't weight it a ton. So past 24 rounds at this course only for putting. We'll throw that into the mixed condition model as well. Brendan Todd, Thigala, Davis Riley. This is on a per round basis. Kuchar, Scotty Scheffler, inside the top 5 for strokes gained putting at a course is nuts. Horschel, Fowler, Noren, Tom Kim. That's only in 4 rounds. Zach Blair, Kitayama, Poston. Poston could actually be a really nice look here this week because there is something to, maybe it just doesn't translate, 1v1 all the time. Because even when we're just looking at winners, it's not a huge sample of players. So obviously he has not won at the Players' Championship, but he had some good run at the Players' Championship over the year. Translated over, he won the Wyndham, he won the Heritage. He's a part of that loop, which should correlate a little bit to this one, and he has putted well. So maybe he is a guy to look at this time around. Berger, Burns is another one. Burns having a pretty decent week at Pebble as well. He had the 6th place finish here a year ago. And again, before that, it wasn't good at all. Yeah, 6th, 22nd, he had a miscut in 2022. But yeah. Okay, came 10.9 strokes putting and came in 22nd place. That seems almost impossible. How bad you would have to be at almost anything else. Take a look at it the other way. Any good players, like Bez sucks on these greens. That was only in 2 rounds, so maybe it was just a bad 2 days for him. Lee Hodges, Brendan Wu, who popped up in that short-term modeling, had a bad putting stroke here a year ago. List, he's always a bad putter. Lowry, he's generally a bad putter. Griot, generally a bad putter. You'd think Lowry would be good here, if only because he plays desert golf really, really well on the European Tour and just doesn't get a lot of chances. Again, by the way, pretty decent U.S. Open player. When we go back and kind of take a look at some of the U.S. Opens over the years, we can do that too. We can take a look at a few of them. Just kind of go back and see if there's some names that pop out that way. But for the WM Phoenix Open, it's been bad for him. He had a 6th place finish in 2016 when he gained 4.2 strokes. That would be nice. And what has he been doing? He played pretty well at the Farmers. He had an Albatross, so that will help your approach. So he probably actually lost strokes on approach at the South Course outside of that one shot to have the outlier shot. But the chipping's been really good. The chipping's usually pretty good. The putting has been better as of late. Probably not going to be my lean, but interesting nonetheless. Shane Lowry, I'll keep him on the radar. You can see there's Ricky Fowler. There's a top 5. Min Woo was up there, had a top 5. Tom Kim, Harris English. Okay. Eckroat was another one, top 10 at the LA Country Club. Ampoa, so another interesting factor. Fitzpatrick has started to play well at this course. Denny, Keegan, Hadwin. Hadwin was someone who came inside the top 10 a year ago at this course, so we had a good U.S. Open at the Country Club, which felt like more of a real U.S. Open style course. There was Woodland again. Damon played well. Obviously, Scheffler came in second. Xander Scott Leishman, Tom Kim up there. So maybe Tom Kim should be more of a look. He made his tournament debut a year ago. No first-time player had won or even really played all that well since we had Brooks win in 2014. Just other names at the U.S. Open. Brooks, Harris English. Is Harris English even in the field this week? English. Harris English is here. How has he played at this course? Very good U.S. Open player, apparently, Harris English. Who knew? Always kind of forget about him. WM. Used to play it really well. Had missed last year. The approach play has been really bad. Just really hasn't got it going all that much. Although the driving before Farmers have been really good. I'll have to kind of do a deeper dive on him after Pebble Beach concludes to see if he is actually someone that we want to take a look at. So if someone does perform pretty well here, put them in the back of your mind for the U.S. Open coming up this year as well. I just wanted to take a quick look at that. So what do we have in the mixed condition model right now? Did I throw in the putting? Yeah, I do have putting. Oh, what I wanted to look at was spike putting percentage. Love this tool. So spike putting percentage at this course, we'll set the factor to 2. So players overall, spike percentage at the course, there are very few. Wow. Okay, so we have it in reverse here. That's why. So the players who have not played, you can see all of them. And there's a weird reset here. Strange. So players, 50% of the time, Tom Kim is gaining more than 2 strokes putting per, and this is per round, 2 strokes or more. Theegala, Ramey, and that's Theegala. So 4 of his 8 rounds, he's gained 2 or more strokes putting in a round. Fowler and Todd, 38% over 24 and 16 rounds. Neesmith, 38. Zach Blair, 33 in 8 and 6 rounds. Tom Hoagie, 6 of his 18 rounds have been 2 strokes or more putting gained on the green. Scheffler in his 14 rounds, almost 30%. Kuchar, Kitayama, 1 and 4 is up there. So now we're in some of the lower tiers. Sam Ryder has gained in 5 of his 20 rounds on the greens, 2 strokes or more over that time. Totally spaced on how he did anywhere. I bet him at Torrey, so I can tell you he probably didn't do anything. But let's see, Sam Ryder, he missed the cut, and he did miss the cut. Good ball striking week, though. At least at the South Course. Played okay at the American Express. Had it really going through the end of the year and into the swing season. Just never capitalized. But the putting has been pretty good here. Who are guys who just have a very low percentage? Siwoo does not putt well with this course all that much. Neither does Griot. Yeah, they just don't have the spikes in them. You'd like to see more from Ben An. In 20 rounds, only 2 of them have been 2 or more. But maybe we can get, maybe the putter has been fixed a little bit now that he has the big old broomstick. So interesting to know. Of guys in sort of other categories, when we scroll down, strokes gained approach. Spieth, of guys with like more than 2 rounds, he's at 29%. Hideki, Scheffler, Thomas, Kitayama. Kitayama only has the 4 rounds. Spawn, Lashley. Lashley, someone who plays this course pretty well over time, had a very good Torrey Pines. Obviously, we didn't see him this week. Hubbard, Kevin Stadler, who is a winner here, Luke Donald, and Gary Woodland. Doug Gim, Ricky Fowler at this course by themselves, all over 15%, gaining 2 strokes per or more per round on their approaches. So again, just another thing that you can go and look at. But now what we're going to do is clear all of our filters on the left-hand side. You can just do that and easily see what you have applied at the top. And now take a look at the results of the mixed condition model. We are going to edit it, and we're probably going to wait putting at the course. Let's see, we probably don't want to wait at 100%, but just around there. Strokes gained total at the course, we'll call that course history. Approach means a lot. It means more than that. Driving means more than that. Just as a skill set, we're going to take a look at that longer-term par 3. Around the green, I'm going to rate just a little bit below approach and driving. I'm going to have approach above driving. That key par 4 area, I'll match on par with the par 3s. This is what I like about the sliders. You're just going to be like, I want to weight like these 3 kind of the same. I want to weight this one the most. I want to weight these 2 around the same, then these 2 around the same, which are on par with these ones on the side. If you are listening to this, I mean, obviously, it's not great. You want to see the visual representation of this. So I'm going to load that in, and now we can see some of the players. That will rank out both with the model and whatever one that we have on the go for us now that we have that in there, because we want to put back in our waste management and try to see how we're doing over the past 24 rounds. And we're going to reload the page just to make sure the MCM can take. From time to time, it just kind of gets mixed up a little bit and make sure that everything went well for that. Yeah, so we have all of our weightings in for the mixed condition. That's weighted out perfectly. So Scheffler is number 1 in both now. So the mixed condition model rankings, Scheffler, Xander, Berger, Fowler, and top 5. Hideki, Homa, Thomas, Hovland, Bud Colley, Glover, Cole, Im. So all the names that you would basically expect. Wyndham Clark didn't do well in the model, but does great in the mixed condition model. I wonder if there are any more outliers in that sense. Poston does 11-1, 28 in the mixed condition. Like, who kind of reeks? Grayson Sigg is inside the top 25. Sam Ryder, Brendan Todd, probably all due to putting. You can see Brandon Wu actually does pretty well. 25th in the overall model, 20th in the mixed condition model. Bhatia, top 20 in both. The Gala, top 21 in both. Gim is still up there. Tom Kim. Callum Tarrant is top 35 in both, as is Mark Hubbard and Michael Kim and Gary Woodland, although those Woodland stats go well back into what we want to be looking at. So, all right. I think we've done a pretty... Oh, Bunny Ranch. Let's take a quick look at the Bunny Ranch, the other Weiskopf course, just to see if we see any striking similarities between what has happened since it's moved there and some of the similar names. Eckroat, man. So we saw Eckroat pop up at the U.S. Open. We saw Eckroat pop up in some of the stats that we were looking at. How did he play at this tournament last year? He probably wasn't in this tournament last year. Now, was he? At WM Phoenix. Let's see. Has he ever played here? Tournament history. Stone Cold Steve Austin Eckroat. Eckroat 316 was 64th in his debut back in 2022. So nothing to write home about, but interesting to see his name pop up in a few different places now. And you know that he's going to be towards the back end of the field. So CT Pan is another one. I don't know if the Panimal is one of the ones. I don't see CT Pan in this field. I don't see why he would be in this field, but maybe he is. Totally forget. Oh, yeah, he is in this field towards the very back end. No idea how the Panimal and all the Panamaniacs out there are doing. He came 9th at Sanderson Farms, 4th at the Byron Nelson. It's just been terrible kind of ever since. So probably not quite in the form that you would want from a CT Pan. Vince Norman at a heavy driving course. Interesting stuff. Marty Doe. I don't believe he's in the field. Obviously, Hatton left. Jason Day was 5th in Phoenix a year ago. There's Adam Scott, who I think has won in Phoenix at some point in his career. We saw Palmer. He popped up a little bit. There's Jaeger again. Mac Hughes. Canadians do enjoy themselves some Phoenix. Ben Ann, Seamus Power, Eric Cole. So there's Hideki. We take a look at him up there. Stevens, Tom Kim is another one. Hadwin, as we kind of go. Nate Lashley, who I said had a pretty decent track record. Brandon Wu, who keeps popping up a little bit where we're trying to look. So that was just last year. We'll see how it did at 2022 at Craig Ranch. KH Lee won. He was 2nd in Phoenix the year previous. Hideki up there. Spieth up there. Thomas up there. Xander up there. Palmer up there. So all guys who play well in Phoenix. James Hahn! We know the run that he made the year that Brooks won, so funny to see him up there. Davis Riley, again. Can we get to Davis Riley this week? We probably shouldn't, based on some of these recent results. So let's just kind of skip over him for a second. Noren, and there's Bez again, Scheffler, Seamus Power, Nate Lashley, again, another name. Tom Kim, another name who pops up. So if we're looking for outliers, and we're looking for players maybe towards the back end. I mean, this is probably going to get me onto Eckroat. Seamus Power might be another one that I can get up there with. Davis Riley, maybe I take that chance. It doesn't seem like a very good idea. Like I mentioned, Munoz just is gone. He's not on the face of the earth. He's on Live now, I think. Is he on Live now? I think that he's on Live. He played in the U.S. Open. Played pretty well in the U.S. Open. He had 8 strokes on approach in the U.S. Open. Would not have guessed that from Sebastian Munoz. But yes, I guess he went to Live because he's not playing a ton. So Lashley, Lipsky, maybe. How's Lipsky been playing? He popped up in the mixed condition model a few times. Been ass. Of course he has. All right, well, let's. We don't need to guess the odds. As I mentioned, we can actually just look at the odds at DraftKings Sportsbook as they are currently situated. Plus 350 for Scheffler. No one's betting that. He was 17-1 here last year, and I didn't bet him because I'm an idiot. I did double barrel him in 1 and done, and the team that Tambo and I shared was like first or second place in the 1 and done for like 4 weeks after this because it was an elevated event. And very few people use Scheffler. It was weird. So Scheffler, 3.5-1. Then we have Xander at, 10-1. Victor, 11-1. Thomas, 11-1. Homa, 12-1. Then it's a jump to Spieth, Sungjae, Burns, 2022. Poston, 25. Gross. Wyndham Clark, 28 after a good round. Min Woo Lee, 30-1. Cam Young, Tom Kim, Thigala. I'll probably start to live in this Tom Kim range, at least just in my mind. That's where I can see it. Kim, Thigala. I mean, Fitz at 40 is a good number. He had a very bad Saturday at Pebble Beach, but like whatever. He's won the U.S. Open. He's played well here. Decent enough form coming in. 40-1. Like, are we really saying that? Listen, JT Poston's having a nice little run right now, but he's 25-1, and Matthew Fitzpatrick is 40-1. It's fucking mental. Like, get out of here with that nonsense. Ben Ann, 50-1. That's a good number. Griot and Noren popped up. We can maybe go back to Keith Mitchell. If he has a really good day and the rest of my guys play well, and I might need Dietrich, if Dietrich wins and Keith Mitchell can fire like, I don't know, 7 under at Pebble Beach, if that's like a thing that happens, if they get in that round and the rest of my guys play okay, I think I'll win the big $5 just based on the team that I have. But it is Keith Mitchell that's like lagging because he shot even par on Saturday and everyone else went off. From the back end, we saw Bhatia. What is Eckroth's number? It feels like he's going to win this year. Let's see if we can find old Austin Eckroth. There he is, 200 to 1. Probably a pretty good bet. And there's Kevin Yu. We wanted to find Brandon Wu, right? Brandon Wu, 300 to 1. All right, so there are names in the back end of the field. Although, based on the names that I read out to you that have previously won this event, be it Brooks or Scotty or who else won? Webb Simpson, Hideki, Ricky Fowler, even Gary Woodland, all name brand players. There have been very few who have even really contended, who have been off the board or haven't been staples on the PGA Tour for a while. Like the only one who was kind of at a left field was Brooks the first time he won it. Brooks was here. That was one of the big first huge moments on this show, and we picked Brooks to win when no one knew who he was. But we had been following Matt Majors and on the Euro Tour, and then dude comes over and absolutely annihilates it. But other than that, brand name players. So it might be better to try to look at the Eckroths of the world. Listen, I'll bet them with a top 8 each way or whatever it is, just based on the longer odds. That might be the proper route to go. But I do think I'll try to keep it with the name brands at the top of the board and everything. Unless Justin Thomas can win at Pebble, it's going to be hard to pass on him. Even at 11 to 1, I'd probably want a little bit more. And we might get that with an odds reset, depending on what happens at the conclusion of Pebble Beach, whether they get it in, whether they don't, whether it lingers into Tuesday. Who knows? I'm not from the future. Based on my picks, you can probably figure that out since they never win. Or else I'm just very good at pretending I'm not from the future. What a business. If you were from the future, what a business to be in. To be someone who talks about bets, so trying to predict the future, but always getting them wrong, thus throwing everyone off your scent. I wish that was the case, but it is not. But that's going to do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. So smash the like to the episode, sub to Mayo Media Network and the podcast, rate and review, turn on the auto downloads, fantasynational.com/Mayo. That one and done and season-long player planner will be up very soon for people to consume and to plan out their year if that's what they want to do. Until then, you can check out all of the other shows. We got Super Bowl this week, more golf shows. Me and Jeff on Monday, me, Jeff, and Cust on Tuesday, I believe is coming. Tambo in studio for DraftKings picks. It's going to be glorious. All right? I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!